So hey, does war in the Middle East affect mortgage rates in Canada? Like most things in finance, the answer is sort of, okay? So we got not much. We got this incredible intraday fluctuation. I keep talking about bond yields. Bond yields, Canada bond yields. The bonds are government issues. Those are the definer of what mortgage rates are. Now this is something new we're going to be talking about more and more in the coming weeks and months, with the addition of what's called 4-year swaps. So this is the way that financial institutions can measure risk and hedge against risk. But we'll get back to that in a minute. But does war influence mortgage rates? I mean, ultimately, yes, it does. Okay, and it must, because it's something as significant as a explosive war that has a lot to do with energy pricing, transit of oil. Not much effect in North America. North America's pretty much energy independent in many ways, but like Canada and the US don't really import much oil anymore. I mean, that's just the truth sometimes, and sometimes just because there's no real pipeline into Quebec, sometimes Saudi tankers come in down the St. Lawrence, but in any event, it's manageable. It's not a huge energy dependence in North America on Middle Eastern oil. So the war in the Middle East, as awful as it is, as horrible as it is, as people are dying, it's horrible, but so far it hasn't had much of an effect on mortgage rates, except a tiny trend. And here's what it is. This 4-year swap I'm talking about, this is a method by which risk is hedged on the future of rates. Like we're having big fluctuations. One thing that the combination of trade war, tariffs, Middle Eastern war bring is uncertainty and volatility. So we've seen intraday volatility. I think today we saw 290 all the way up to 299, like intraday, like in one day, in the middle of a day, that much variance in 5-year bond yields. So does that immediately affect the rates on 5-year fixed rate mortgages? So far, not too much, but we can see that the swap yields, the 4-year swap yields, are moving in the wrong direction for consumers, for borrowers, and there is probably going to be some upward pressure because the swaps, 4-year swaps, are trying to contain volatility. They're trying to be a hedge against the future, and as credit risk becomes more expensive, that's a reflection of them rising. So will we see some upward movement? Yes. But at the end of the day, the war could be over in a week. Yeah, it could be. It really could be. It could be not, but it could also be. So that's what you have to think about. There is this impact of uncertainty in the marketplace. We talk about this all the time. All kinds of commentators and economists and bank economists talk about it all the time. What we hate in financial decisions is uncertainty. Uncertainty is the worst. The business world prays for steady state, for everything to stay as much the same as possible, so it's easy to understand the cause and effect of events, okay? That's not what we have today. So will there be some upward movement in rates? It would appear there may be. We may see some rates on the way up next week. I've talked earlier about there's still some mortgage rates starts with a 3. So there still are some mortgage rates that start with a 3, but there'll just be fewer and fewer of them by next week. Like, again, well, Ron, why can't there just be one rate? First of all, because there's competition amongst banks. They fight about rate. I mean, everybody likes to say, well, Canada, there's no competition with banks. I would actually tell you that they're pretty fucking competitive on a daily basis. That not at every moment in time. They have their cycles to go through too, but yeah, it's goddamn competitive in many, many ways. And that's one of the reasons that our rates, we have had a bunch of rates in the 3s again. It was headed up, started to drift back down, lots of rates in the 3s. Now it's drifting back up again. So yes, war can create a major shift in bond yields, 4-year swaps, and it affects rates in the end. We can assume this is an important thing to understand. Very important. If wars spin out of control, if there's serious adverse events, which none of us want, I'm not suggesting that there will be, the balance of probabilities is that it won't be an uncontrolled shitstorm in the Middle East, like things going really wrong, like massive oil, like Karg Island being blown to bits, and there's all of a sudden there's virtually no oil being exported from Iran. I mean, who knows? None of us know. But if there's a really major swing in events and rates go up significantly, there's another possibility that you have to understand. The Bank of Canada is designed to cut rates in an emergency. That's what COVID was. And rates went to zero. They virtually went to zero. 0.25% is the same as goddamn zero. So yes, there can be rapid intervention by the Bank of Canada if they consider that there's an outside economic catastrophe occurring or a shock that has to be managed. So yes, 5-year fixed rates could go up, and if there's a worst case outcome, they could go up significantly. But again, the Bank of Canada is designed to deal with. That's what they're there for, designed to fight crises. And could they slash rates quickly? 250 basis point cuts in 2 meetings, two announcement dates? Yeah, that could happen. 6 weeks. In 6 weeks, there could be a cut in the July or September meeting, and a huge cut, like 50 basis points, and then another 50 basis points following, and you've got a 1% lower variable mortgage rate, and that's significant. So there are angles to this thing. There are wheels within wheels. I'm not trying to be alarmist. I'm not trying to, say things that I know secret information, which I don't. But I am saying that major world events, as we saw in COVID, can have a massive effect on mortgage rates, and it's not impossible that some minor version of that could happen again.